This is an emergency communications training net. Good evening to everyone who checked in this evening. The purpose of this net is to train all amateur radio operators in emergency communications, emergency modes, communication modes, emergency communications equipment, deployment activities, and also to educate National Incident Management System. Again, we will be streaming live on YouTube. So if you ever have problems or not have your radio with you or cannot get connected, you can still follow us on YouTube. Or you can go to YouTube and listen to the previous training nets. Okay, tonight we're going to be studying or discussing certain topics out of the ICS 300 course book. And before we get started, I want to recognize those who checked in this evening. We have K4HCH, Henry. Also, we have KM4MJQ, Eric. We also have KB4NET, Bill. And we also have KD9er, Juliet Delta Delta, Billy Marks. Okay, before we get started, does anybody have any emergency traffic or any business that we need to handle? If so, please contact WB4EMC. Okay, hearing none. Again, we're going to be talking a little bit from the ICS 300 course book. The ICS 300, you cannot take it online. For those who have completed the ICS 100, 200, 700, and 800, the ICS 300 and 400, if it is offered near or close to where you live, it is a classroom training. But the reason why I'm stressing the ICS 300 and 400, more and more different locations, emergency management facilities are now requiring for those who work in an emergency management facility or at the EOC to be trained in the ICS 300 and 400. So if you have completed the basic 4, I highly recommend, if you have the opportunity, to go and take the ICS 300 and 400. It's free of charge, and as far as I know right now, it's free of charge. So please take the opportunity and do that if you can. Okay, this is WB4EMC. All right, there's certain terms or terminology y'all probably have heard or probably have not heard, such as chain of command, unity of command, unified command. So different types of commands. Chain of command basically refers to the orderly line of authority within the ranks of the incident management organization. When we talk about the unity of command, we're talking about the means that every individual has a designated supervisor to whom he or she reports at the scene of an incident. Okay, now what about unified command? The unified command in incidents involving multiple jurisdictions, a singular jurisdiction with multiple agencies involved, or multiple jurisdiction with multi-agency involved. Basically, when you get up into a unified command, you're getting into a bigger incident. Now, we're not going to be discussing it tonight. There is another type of command. It's called an area command. That's the biggest ICS structure you can establish. And I'll just briefly say an area command, it will be involved like if you have a hurricane, a wildfire that will be covering several counties or maybe crossing over into a few states where it's the same incident, so to speak, and you might have secondary incidents coming off of that. So you got to have a very large command structure, which that's what the area command involves. But we're not going to get into that this evening. This is WB4EMC. Okay, also, and this is just a review or ICS review, very start of the ICS 300. One thing is characteristics of the ICS system is accountability, and that involves check-ins, instant action plan, also personal responsibility, and resource tracking. Checking in, of course, if there is, you're deployed, all responders, regardless of the agencies or affiliation, must report into the receive and assignment accordance to procedures established by the incident commander. Basically, there be a location where you'll be checking into. Also, the Incident Action Plan, that's the IAP. The Incident Action Plan, in other words, it's the response of operations must be directed and coordinated as outlined of the IAP. The Incident Action Plan is basically the plan that the incident's going to follow, okay? And it's a guideline, it's a blueprint that everyone can look at and know who is the, or know what type of command structure they're dealing with, know who the incident commanders are, who's the resource plans, all different structures. Who is in charge? The IEP will also outline, like we just got through talking about, the chain of command. So in case if you got a question, you can look at the IEP and see who is above you, who you need to go and address that question to. Also, resource tracking, basically, if you're assigned a radio, which is part of the resource, it is our responsibility to make sure we keep track of any equipment that is issued to us. And if it gets damaged in the process of deployment, it is our responsibility to report it and let them know how it got damaged. So we are accountable for all equipment or resources that has been assigned to us. Okay, I'm not going to bore anybody else or bore the rest of y'all anymore here this evening. I know the ICS 300 can get pretty much involved, but that's just the introduction or a review, you might say, of what we have already learned when we took the ICS 100, 200, 700, and 800. And we're going to be getting a little bit more into the ICS 300, what it teaches, what ICS 300 is all about in the next few weeks. Also, the ICS 300 and 400 will also bring together everything that we have learned on the ICS 100, 200, 700, and 800. So if you just got through taking the basic 4 and you're a little bit confused or not really understanding the structure or the command structure, don't feel alone. I felt that way too, and I believe everybody else did. But when you get an opportunity to take 300 and 400, then everything you have learned will start coming together. And in the ICS 300 and 400, you have the opportunity to participate in what we call a tabletop exercise. And what that is it's actually like an exercise, but it's just what it states. It's from you're sitting at a table, you're divided up into groups, and you are presented a particular scenario or an incident, and you have a person that is playing, you might say, the incident commander, and he will then throw, you might say, curveballs into the scene, so to speak, and then different agencies will have to then put their input into it, how they're going to respond to the different situations in the incident. So it's very fun, and you get to use what you already learned on the ICS 100, 200, 700, and 800. So if you have a chance to take the ICS 300, 400, by all means do so. You'll definitely enjoy it. This is this is B4 EMC, and we'll take a pause here, and then we'll go into the question and answering period. Okay, like I stated before, that's about all I have this evening, and hopefully in future nets we'll have guest speakers, trainers. My hope is to have one of the guys that I know that is part of the planning, or actually not the planning, part of the development team of the WinLink system. Some Saturday night come on board and discuss a little bit about WinLink, and I know we all will have questions, definitely. So whenever I get that lined up, I'll definitely let everybody know well in advance so that we all can be here for that. Okay, let's go on down the list here and get some comments here. First up on the list, on my list here, I'm seeing it on the screen, is K4HCH. Good evening, Henry. Glad you're here on the net. Your comments, over.
Yeah, KB4 EMC is K4HCH. Yeah, Jerry, I really enjoy these nets. I hate that I'm not able to catch every one of them. But a question I have right now on this ICS 300, 400, is there a prerequisite for taking those?
Okay, K4HCH, this is B4 EMC. Absolutely, Henry. You have to have completed the online 100, 200, 700, and 800. Once you completed those, then you can then apply to take the ICS 300. After you take 300, then you can take 400. Over.
Thank you, Jerry. I thought maybe there were. I've already done the 100 and 200, I've just gotten myself so busy I haven't had the opportunity to take the 700 and 800 yet, but that's on my list to do, among other things. But I appreciate that clarification, Jerry. And it's a K4HCH, over.
Okay, well, Henry, yeah, just take your time, but when you find some spare time, just go ahead and try to knock each one out. And then once you complete the 800, if you ever have the opportunity to take 300 and 400, by all means, it's worth your while. Like I stated before, 300, 400 will definitely bring all the online ICS courses that you've taken, bring them